Good morning and welcome to 1 Million Cups Kansas City. If you want to grab your coffee and come take a seat, we will get started. Who's here for the first time today? Raise your hand. I think we have a bunch of students in the audience, so welcome Leavenworth and Turner High School. Is that right? Yes? Okay. Welcome to 1 Million Cups. We are a weekly entrepreneurial community that has two companies present. Each will present for 6 minutes. We'll open it up to the audience for Q&A, first to our expert panel and then the audience. So if you have a question for either of the companies, please raise your hand and we will come around with a mic. I would also like to say happy Global Entrepreneurship Week. Woo! Who's been to some events this week? Anybody? Raise your hand. A few? Yeah. Well, thank you for joining in our fun this morning. I would like to welcome our expert panel. Grant, John, want to introduce yourselves?
Hey, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well this morning. My name is John Fine. I previously was managing director for Techstars here in Kansas City for 3 years. And I then founded an early stage venture fund called Firebrand Ventures because I saw the desperate need for more organized early stage capital here in KC and throughout the Midwest. And so now I run a firm called Firebrand Ventures here in Kansas City.
Good morning. My name is Grant Gooding, founder of a marketing research company here in town called Proof Positioning. We help business owners and entrepreneurs know and not guess with their marketing decisions by using consumer surveys to help find out what's in the hearts and minds of their customers. Backgrounds, mergers and acquisitions, and in marketing, I don't know if that helps.
Sure.
Have a great GEW, guys. Go to events. 3 people, come on.
I know, right? Oh, if you haven't checked into your 1 Million Cups app, please pull that out, check in. You can provide automatic feedback to the presenters as well as us as organizers. My name is Courtney. I'm one of your community organizers along with Kyle, Zach, and Luke. So if you have any questions about our program, please let us know. So without further ado, we will get started. I would like to welcome up Chris and Yana with Pointworks Academy.
Right. Hello and good morning, everyone. My name is Chris Sullivan, and this is Yana Baranek. We are the founders at Pointworks Academy. Pointworks Academy is an accelerated learning company. We help train the new generation of user experience designers. So, what's that? Raise your hand if you've heard of code schools. Code schools, all right. Pointworks Academy is to future user experience designers what code schools are to future coders and developers. Make sense? All right, so who is Pointworks? Why are we the right people to do this in Kansas City? In addition to myself and Yana, Amy Devon is our program director at Pointworks. I founded Usagility in 2008. Usagility is a user-centered design consulting firm. We help companies design software and systems that are intuitive, simple, and work for end users based on principles of human-centered design or user-centered design. Pointworks really grew out of the need from our clients saying, help us be better designers. Help us learn what you do. Usagility has 3 times been named one of the fastest growing companies in Kansas City, and we just have launched Pointworks Academy from there. The curriculum is based on the same processes that we follow at Usagility. All right, so what's the issue? So employers need technology design talent. Smart people need jobs, but there's a skills and experience gap in the middle. User experience designers are in demand. So the U.S. Department of Labor Statistics shows that but over the next 10 years, the jobs for user experience designers will grow at 27%. That's tracking right along with all the technology, software, and development jobs as well. Right here in Kansas City, you'll see about 100 job openings at any time. College grads aren't coming out of schools and colleges ready to hire. You'll see graphic design, industrial design, even architecture. Those segments are not growing. And even human factors programs are training people a lot in the theory and research, but not with the modern design tools and techniques that they need to be job ready. So where are we now?
So right now, we launched in June. And to date, we have actually already trained 76 students. So we feel pretty good about that. Some of those have been in corporate environments. So we've had organizations that have brought us in and said, you know what, we need user-centered design and UX design in our companies. So if you could help us out. So we've had corporate clients. We've also had our first public boot camp that took place at our training center in Westport. And we had people there who are looking for a new career and they're interested in UX design. We've also had people who've started a new career in UX design and want more skills. So that's where we are now. Who else is solving this problem? So there are other people trying to meet this need. There is online training going on. There are also other UX design agencies on both coasts that have opened schools like ours. And there are also accelerated learning programs starting to pop up in cities like Atlanta, Washington, D.C., Chicago, and San Francisco. But they're not here. They're not in Kansas City. They're not in our region even. So they're expensive and for people to travel to, and they may not be able to travel at all. They're also not getting us the skills we need right now to grow the talent in this area. Besides being in Kansas City, some things that make us different from some of those options are that we're hands-on. So we demonstrate processes and tools, and then in our classes, people practice. So every boot camp has a real project that people are working on, and so they get to apply what they're learning to a real problem and hopefully come up with a solution by the end of boot camp. All of our classes are taught by UX practitioners, so people who are out there every day doing the work, coming up with solutions in organizations, and really figuring out how to do this with the tools and techniques that you need to be successful. And then finally, Pointworks Academy has a very strong interest. Chris and I have an interest in connecting people to jobs. So we want to make sure that the people that are coming out of our boot camps with the skills that we know are needed in the market are connecting with the employers who need those skills. So we look to connect people in our community. So our ask for you, and I have no idea where we are on time, for those of you who know that we're on a timer. Our timer's never started, so I guess I could talk for a while here. But our ask for you is really related to job retraining and getting people connected. We would like to hear from you and get connected through you if you know organizations that are working on job retraining. Who should we be connecting with? We've connected with Launch Code, and we know folks there, and we're excited about what they're doing, and vice versa. We've also talked with friends at Centric, which is a code school that's doing this, as Chris mentioned, for the coding side. So we are looking for ways to connect and build partnerships with those groups that are doing job retraining. So.
Great job. Let's hear it. Sorry. That's weird. Oh, I did start it, but it looked like it only gave you 6 seconds off the clock. Sorry, it broke.
Yeah, it's like the slowest countdown ever.
Well, you did a great job. You finished with
On and on. Really
you finished with
good.
30 seconds. So great job. Let's open up to our expert panel.
Hey, great job. Great job on the pitch. So you're starting in Kansas City, and this is all in-person training, right?
Today.
Today, so you're planning on going virtual at some point?
So as far as the future and what the future might bring, I think that there are opportunities in making content available online from a business model standpoint, also to supplement and be able to maybe offer part of the courses to be done online, and then another part maybe facilitated projects in classrooms. Additionally, there are opportunities for growth in the future, we think, in really taking training nationwide with a centralized marketing program and trainers throughout the country, as well as many opportunities, we believe, in junior high and high school STEM-related activities where young people are not being introduced to the careers in user experience design and think that technology is just coding. And there's a whole separate skill set that's required to really build products that work.
So a little bit tougher question. So, obviously, I'm big believer in UX. UX is your product essentially, but there are far fewer UX professionals than there are just software developers. you take any department, right? Any development department or any group, there's going to be the UX folks are going to be far outnumbered. And so, how are you addressing that in your go-to-market strategy as far as finding those folks who are genuinely interested and more than interested, have a need to be trained in UX because it's a smaller portion of that market?
So I think we are looking at it from two sides. One is from the developer side, and we've actually found a lot of traction there. One of our most fertile spots so far has been KCDC, where we presented and did a half-day workshop. And out of that, we've had people coming to our classes. And we see that in organizations who have a large technology group. That's where we're seeing our corporate training is actually training people in QA, the BAs, and their developers in UX so that they can bring those skills, even if they can't have the practitioner or they only have a few of them. I think the other side of that is recognizing where the stream of people can come from, because there aren't a lot of people doing it now, but I would say, based on what we know about how competitive it is to hire in this space, people want UX practitioners in their organizations, but I think a lot of people who have the skills and talent don't know the job exists. We find that out a lot. So students coming out with graphic design degrees or coming out with industrial design or engineering degrees don't actually know what it takes to move into the digital space. And so that's one of the things that we're doing in small kind of get to know UCD. Those are kind of more meet and greet activities that we're doing at Pointworks in addition to the bigger training to just introduce people.
Great job on your pitch, first of all. One of the things I really like about this is that it's a nuancey market and it's a growing market. So to John's point, maybe supply is low right now, but are we making a bet that there's going to be greater supply in this emerging field tomorrow than there is today? I think the answer is yes. And it also gives you the opportunity to grow that market and become a thought leader in that area. And that's how you build a great company. So that's what I really like about the vision here. I think the why is solidified. I was having some trouble with your how, right? Because academies don't do workshops, right? Academies are centers of learning and expertise. And so I understand that you do this to pay bills and generate awareness and those types of things, but I wanted to hear more about what's the long-term vision about what this is going to look like. Are you going to create degree programs, develop your own curriculum? Because if you can do that, now you're really moving the needle.
So thank you for asking that question. I think we were hoping to get that question because we couldn't fit that stuff in the 6 minutes. So,
well, remember when you gave me the 20 in the parking lot? That's.
We have developed all the curriculum that we deliver currently is ours and is proprietary, based on best practices in user-centered design processes. But we teach the same process that the consultants at Use Agility use successfully with our clients. So while we just started in June, and right now our offerings consist of week-long workshops that are corporate training as well as public. Our product is a 10-week immersive user experience design program and certification program that will launch this summer in 2017. And so students pay a tuition and participate in a 10-week full-time program and are taught by our team as well as other experienced designers from Kansas City and across the nation to come out with that portfolio and skills, the tools, the background in research, human factors, design, to get jobs. Beyond that, I think there are a lot of opportunities and things that we're working on also currently with universities that provide this type of education currently, and are challenged in staying current with processes and tools and really getting their students industry ready. So there are things in that area that we are exploring and pursuing right now.
Well, I think basic economic principles will show us that if you specialize in this area, you'll be able to supersede what a general university will do because the scope is simply too large in those areas, which is why I think this has promise. help us all understand who your target market is and how you utilize the curriculum. For instance, are you going to target like dev shops here in town, like a Crema Lab who has developers and UX people, and you want those are your students, but then are they? You said they're working on projects, so you have a supply-demand issue you have to balance. How are you doing that now?
Well, so one of the things that we're doing is actually working with large tech employers. So large engineering firms, financial services firms, and those companies are the ones with these big, they already have 500 tech employees, right? And so, but they see this gap of, we know that our products need to be more usable. And so we actually have them bring us a project that is a corporate problem, you know, that they're trying to deal with. Something that's consumable, right? It can't be too big, but by solving something that's real, and especially something that everybody in the organization struggles with, right? Some problem that they're trying to, you know, everybody complains about. They're creating the projects for us to a large degree. We're looking at partnerships, especially in the startup space, to be able to generate those kind of projects for our in-house training. The corporate projects are easy to come up with. The in-house training, we're looking for partners on that. But we also have a lot of opportunity right now with the move in our federal government to make data available. So we've done some projects with open data at like FDA opendata.gov. There are projects there just waiting to be explored. And we've done some of that in RFP projects that we are then sharing with students as a project for them to work on. So there's a lot of opportunity because there's so much bad design out there.
And in addition to kind of the corporate clients, are from a public-facing standpoint, I think a target market are individuals coming out of college with undergraduate degrees in marketing or graphic design or communications or business or journalism. People who can tell stories and interview and ask good questions, they are great, they can make great designers. To consider Pointworks Academy as an accelerated learning program as an alternative to a 2-year expensive graduate degree.
Okay, we're going to open it up to the audience now. There's a question right over on your right.
Hi, I know Chris. I'm a user experience designer too, and she's been a leader.
Hi, Susanna.
Hi, she's been a great leader in user experience in Kansas City. And my question is, are you basing this on a model on universities that already have graduate degrees and are already placing graduates? Or are you working with local corporations to fine-tune your academic program, your degree program, so that you can say to these people, especially the first batch going through, we know this is a program that will make you employable?
Yes, so more so the second. We're basing the curriculum on the processes, the user-centered and human-centered design processes that we use at Usagility, and are continuing to need to do more of this. I think our goal is to do more of engaging with employers to say, where are the skills gap? What is the need? And how can we help meet that demand by helping skill up your associates and grow brand new entrants into the job market? It's a great question. Thank you.
Question right up here in the front.
So a couple of things. On the business side, what kind of student flow through on an annual basis do you need to actually make a go of this business? And secondly, how do you evaluate the effectiveness of your program? Are you actually evaluating skills before and after, for example? Are you tracking with employers?
The evaluation question is a great one. And we're still working on that, just honestly. And I think we need to be talking with employers about that. And we do have some kind of touch point evaluations kind of in the boot camp. But for the certification program, that will be more rigorous for certification to be offered. The other question, so we launched in June. To be fair, we started working on it, before that, and it's been in our heads for a while. But we will not quite be profitable this year, and have only been running classes and running the business for 5 months out of this year. So we keep on this trajectory and grow the business. It's profitable in the very near term.
I think one of the things that we're looking at is the blend between corporate training and public training, right? Because so far, corporate training is lucrative, and we're going to need to probably partner. And I think this goes to kind of that request on job retraining, right? How can we help people get into classes in our public, 8 to 10 week class in a way that's affordable? That said, we're looking to price based on the business models that we're seeing other people are running. And then, if we are a substitute for a 2-year graduate program so that somebody can get into work right away versus going through an additional 2 years and spending, credit hour kind of rates on school, we think we're an affordable option for the public.
Question back center.
Hi, I would like to give you a referral to another organization that does job retraining. This is a man named Quentin Brown, and his website is webmarketingforprofit.com. Quentin was a very famous SEO, search engine optimization entrepreneur who became like a millionaire, and he started this website to help women in third world countries to be able to start selling their products online. And he has a whole program online that I think you'd be great to connect with him, and it's webmarketingforprofit.com.
Our team get that?
Thank
I'm
you.
looking over here because we've got
Note taking.
folks from
It's
our
also
team
on
here.
the video as well, so.
Great.
Another question up front.
Hi, I was wondering if you've put any thought into training leadership to help work with individuals in this field to help them understand?
In the corporate clients that we've had so far this year, including a Fortune 500 company, one of the biggest needs that they had was to educate across the organization and inform their executives and leadership about what they need to do to accommodate a UX process and improving the user experience design. And so assessment, the first thing that we do with corporate training is to assess their organization, kind of where are they on the readiness scale or the maturity scale as far as incorporating user-centered design, and then what are the next steps, and what does the organization need to have in place as far as organizational structure, talent, and processes to execute and make it successful.
We have a couple of questions on Twitter about price. Ariel Media and Jeff H. both want to know about tuition for your in-person workshops.
So for the in-person workshops, the 5-day boot camp that we did just a couple of weeks ago, which we sold out, is $1,500 for the week. Includes lunches every day and a project that the team comes out with at the end with a prototype and results from usability testing to kind of take with them. For the 10-week immersive course, our prices are competitive and slightly lower because of our market in Kansas City to what you'll see General Assembly, which is really the venture-backed leader in this accelerated learning space, which runs at about $1,000 a week. So $8,000, $9,000 for a 10-week course. Scholarships are available. We encourage everyone, even if that number makes you gulp, to come talk to us and see what we can make happen.
Right here up front.
Chris and Yana, thanks for coming out to Million Cups today. Really appreciate what you have to say. I was the general counsel of a small manufacturing company that made specialized equipment that people had to be trained on. We had a training center, and that was part of our product offerings. One of our big problem was that people tried stealing our faculty away to run our equipment in the field. Now, you have a specialized area that's in super high demand, and if you don't have faculty members to teach people, you're out of business. What are you doing to keep people from stealing your talented people that are teaching other people?
So, yeah, I'll take that, because I think that goes to one of the reasons why we're doing this. It is already super competitive for us. We compete with Garmin and Sprint and Google and Facebook for our talent here in Kansas City doing what we do at Use Agility. So we are no strangers to that. You know, on one side, as a company, we have a history at Use Agility of work-life balance that's important. But I think what we feel is that we need to start training more people to do this. And so that we reduce the, you know, we take a little pressure off the fact that we're all competing for the same 8 people. And so we want to actually take advantage of that. I'm sure we'll have turnover, but we believe that growing the talent base is actually going to get us the problem. We're going to mitigate our problem a little bit more than trying to kind of grab onto everyone and hold them tight, because we know we're trying to grab them away from other people too.
The faculty thing is a good question. I don't know that we've really solved that. And is there something kind of creative and different that we can do there? You know, as far as a more traditional faculty supplemented with UX practitioners who are maybe stepping out of their jobs for a couple days to teach part of the curriculum. So I think it's a really good point for us to continue to ponder.
And I think one other follow-up to that is, if you guys have been around UX people, they tend to be like really helpful and open. And I think that's that empathy. Like, they want people to be successful. And so we actually have had a very positive response from practitioners that we know that want to help. And to Chris's point, you know, they might come in and teach a day or two, but it's a really fabulous community of people.
So our final question for you today is, what can we as a community do to help you?
Well, I think that was kind of this question that we kind of put out there. You know, there's a lot of talk about job retraining, and we know there are sectors of the economy that are losing jobs, not just here in Kansas City, but across the nation. And so I think thinking about how we can connect with job retraining programs and what part of this tech design and UX picture could be a value to people who are needing new skills and to employers and organizations who are looking for people. So I think that's the thing that we would ask for any of you who want to come talk to us afterwards or connect with us on Twitter at @PointworksKC.
Thank you so much for your presentation today.
Thanks.
Hey, also, there are a few seats in the front. I know we're a packed house, so please feel free to filter up during announcements and grab a seat while you can get it.
Awesome. Also, don't forget, grab one of these sheets. It tells you a little bit about the presenters today. It also has some announcements on the back. First announcement, don't forget, next week is Thanksgiving, so make sure you don't eat all week to prepare for that. And we will not be here next Wednesday for 1 Million Cups, so don't forget about that. And then we have a couple live announcements. Suzanne with Gilded.
Hi, you all. How many have heard of Gilded before? Okay, great. We are the 1 Million Cups for Artists. So we have a presentation, a forum just like this, happening at 10:30 across the hallway, where we have Bruce Bannett, a Hollywood filmmaker, coming to show what he's done for Star Trek and Breaking Bad. And he's also going to be introducing some films that he's hoping to bring, full feature films he's hoping to bring. And he does this all right here in Kansas City. And then we also have Heidi Van, who's the founder of Fish Tank, and she's a UMKC scholar. And she'll be talking about taking the Fish Tank nonprofit, which is right now a commercial venture. So come on over at 10:30 and you'll hear more about what these artists do and help build the art economy in Kansas City.
And then we have another announcement from Brooke at Pennside Media.
I'm Brooke Bobe with Pennsite Media. How many folks have heard of Pennsite? Okay, great. Perfect. So we are a data and digital media company. We have a great product called Rollout that I just want to tell you a little bit about for Global Entrepreneurship Week. Essentially, if you are maybe a startup or an early stage company and you have a business to consumer product that has a great growth trajectory, we will consider you for a program called Rollout. Essentially, the way it works is we build an app for you at no upfront cost. We take it to market, help you get it launched, embed ads into it to help you have a monetization engine. When we pay ourselves back for app development, we turn over the app to you. It's your baby. And that's basically our program. And we're going to be at the Sprint Accelerator all day today from 11 to 5, hosting office hours if you want to come learn more about our program. And Matthew Denny, who's a tech recruiter here in town, is sponsoring pizzas. So if nothing else, come down for pizza and hear more about our program.
All right, with that, let's hear it for Joshua with Mycroft.
Hello, I'm Joshua Montgomery, the CEO of Mycroft AI. In 1991, a man with the unlikely name of Linus Torvalds developed the kernel of a new operating system. Soon it would be named for him, Linux. 20 years later, Linux underpins a majority of the devices that we run every day. 68% of servers and 61% of mobile devices run Linux, which makes it the operating system of choice globally. Why is Linux so popular? Because it's open. And being open has driven more than 2 decades of innovation. Today, I'm here to tell you about the technology that's going to drive the next decade of innovation: artificial intelligence. Self-driving cars, predictive medicine, automated financial planning, all of these technologies are near. And one of the key technologies driving our AI future is natural language processing, the ability of computer systems to understand human language and respond using the most intuitive form of communication: speech. Natural language processing will change the way we use computers every day. From elder care to restaurants to call centers, the ability of computer technology to understand human speech and respond naturally will fundamentally change the technology landscape. And there's an entire community of developers out there that are seeking access to this technology so that they can innovate. But so far, it's been the purview of a few large companies: Apple's Siri, Microsoft's Cortana, Google Now. They've been walled off, proprietary, and secretive. Not anymore. Meet Mycroft, the world's first open source artificial intelligence platform. Mycroft is truly an AI for everyone. It's an AI platform that brings the power of natural language processing to the open source community for the first time. And that means that the developers that are behind innovative technologies like Wikipedia and WordPress and, yes, Linux, will finally have access to this groundbreaking technology. Mycroft is the open source community's answer to Siri and Amazon Echo. A Mycroft user can talk to her technology naturally and receive a natural response. We started the project by developing a wireless speaker with a high-quality microphone. This speaker is a reference device designed to give our developer community a foundation from which to innovate. To make the device relatable and set a positive tone, we based it on WALL-E, Eva, E.T., and Big Hero 6. We also wanted to encourage our community to hack and explore and extend the technology, and so we based it on Raspberry Pi and Arduino, 2 very popular prototyping technologies. But Mycroft AI Inc. is not a device maker. In fact, we've open sourced our hardware schematics and are encouraging others to adopt our technology. Mycroft is a software platform that allows developers to bring natural language processing to anything. And that's why our opportunity is so huge. We're open, and so developers can add Mycroft to anything from an automobile to a microwave. A Mycroft-enabled car would allow you to say, "What's the tire pressure in the front right tire?" and receive a natural response, 42 psi. We run on all major operating systems, which means that we'll be available on nearly all of the 24 billion devices that will be connected to the internet in 2020. As the first open source AI platform, we are the leader in this space. And since open source software underpins everything from mobile devices to fitness trackers, we're positioned to be the natural language platform of choice globally. Our advantage is that we're open, and so developers can download and install Mycroft free of charge. This broadens the mouth of our sales funnel and reduces risk for our paying customers. They know that they'll always have access to the underlying source code, and because Mycroft AI is here to help, they'll also have access to paid support. Of course, supporting Mycroft is going to take a great team, and that's where we shine. We've got a fantastic open source community manager, a CTO with experience at Autodesk and Rhythm, deep learning expertise, and leadership with both military and entrepreneurial experience. And that's why we've got so much traction. In the fall of last year, we took our idea to Kickstarter and raised $180,000 to be the largest Kickstarter ever to come out of Kansas. Our success brought with it talented developers like Sean Fitzgerald. Sean was the first technical hire at Siri and the second engineer on the Amazon Echo project. We were the first Kansas company to get into the prestigious TechStars program, and in April of this year, we began shipping developer kits to our backers. We've also began to develop relationships with blue chip companies like IBM, Samsung, and Walmart. And in May of this year, we signed an agreement with Canonical Ltd. That'll put us on more than 40 million devices in the next 12 months. In September of this year, we announced that we'd completed an angel round for $350,000 that includes Kansas City investors like David Larrabee, Eric Burr, and Northland Angels. And we're currently in the process of raising a seed round with more than 30% of the round committed. We are now positioned to be the world leader in this important technology category. Using Mycroft technology, developers and creators in the field of artificial intelligence will be able to make products that communicate naturally, in the same way that I am speaking to you. Among these products will be a handful that will create value above and beyond what exists today, so much so that not only will people be willing to pay for them, they're going to change the way that we use technology in profound ways. Many of you work in the field of healthcare, telecommunications, and finance. Ask yourself, if your technology could understand human speech and respond naturally, what would you build? Thank you.
So I gotta admit, I was at least a little bit hoping that this was gonna be a Mycroft, next slide please, type situation. I don't know, time to engineer that. So I'm gonna tread lightly. I think John's way more the expert here. I'm gonna tread lightly because you guys are much smarter than I am. But I think that obviously open source is where innovation happens at an exponential rate, right? Which is a great thing, and I love that this is open source. And you'll probably know what I'm talking about because I don't remember the details, but recently there was an AI conference that was held somewhere in Europe that I've never been. And you know, all the important people went there, right? And basically they came out and said that artificial intelligence is the greatest existential threat to humankind, not anything else, and it's like, you know, 20 years, and very doomy and gloomy type of stuff, right? So a lot of people would look at this and say, this is a slippery slope, right? This type of a thing, in that it needs to be controlled and garnered because of how powerful it is. How have you taken that type of philosophical stuff into consideration as you grow this company?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you look at our blog, the first blog post that we posted was a blog post that talks about the rights of artificial intelligence in a world where when you communicate with it, you can't tell whether it's a person or not. Okay? And so really this project comes from a position of an existential, of mitigating that existential threat, and a philosophical position of opening a closed technology. The question becomes is, if you have a technology that is an existential threat, right? Skynet, right? I think I actually have my Cyberdyne system shirt on under this shirt. If you have a technology that is an existential threat to people, do you want that to be contained in Microsoft, right? Has that company performed in a way that would make you feel comfortable with them building a technology that can in a lot of ways reshape the way that everyone in the world works? Because in my view, that company specifically has a history of behaving in ways that are damaging to competition, damaging to the workforce, damaging to the national economy, and then damaging to the global economy. And you know, they were brought up by Justice Department on anti-competitive charges, both here and in Europe. Google's currently under indictment in Europe for anti-competitive behavior related to their search engine, right? And so the question is if you're going to have this technology, and there's no doubt this technology is coming, it is going to completely remake the job market. If you have a job, and if you're training for a job, you students out there, where your primary job is communicating between a person and a computer, so think a call center, right? Nowadays, a trucking job is primarily running the computer that drives the truck, right? Interfacing with an automobile is effectively interfacing with the head unit in the car and telling that car where to go. If that is the job that you are training for, your job will not exist in 5 years. It's gone. And so the question becomes is, do we want a technology that democratizes that and makes it available so it's not locked up in 5 Silicon Valley silos? Do we want small companies, like we're working with a company called Soundwall out of Boulder, Colorado, that makes fantastic speakers that mount on the wall and have beautiful art on them. They now have access to a technology that cost Amazon $150 million to develop, and they're a 10-man shop in Boulder. And so the answer to your question is, since it's coming, it should be democratized, it should be open, it should be available, so that one of the students here who has some fantastic idea about some new technology where the interface to their device or their robot or their mobile app is voice, has access to that technology.
Okay, much more practical question. So as you guys are you pre-revenue right now?
No, we did $180,000 in pre-sales on Kickstarter. We also have monthly recurring revenue from our subscribers. About 6% of our subscribers pay us $2 a month for enhanced voices and ad-free media streams.
Great. Okay, so you at least have multiple revenue streams going here. Is your target, are you primarily focusing on a B2C market, or do you look at bigger B2B plays to increase scale of production?
We're currently working on both simultaneously. One of the things that you do with a startup is something called experiential learning. And so we're going out there and reaching out to both business customers and consumers to see which one's the best fit for our technology. We are working with some blue chip companies. We're actually headed to Bentonville to work with a global retailer that I won't name to deploy our technology within their IT infrastructure. We're headed down there tomorrow. So today it's for them, but you have to look at each one of these companies and see the giant leaps that are being taken in Seattle and the giant leaps that are being taken in Silicon Valley. And it might be interesting, in Bentonville you have the world's largest global retailer. They have 10,000 retail locations. They're bigger than anyone else. Their market cap's $200 billion. Amazon, which sells a fraction of that in terms of total retail volume, their market cap's $400 billion. They're worth twice as much as Walmart. And so you have to look at it from the perspective of management at some of, not just that company, but there are thousands around the world that are left in a position where they're competing with Amazon. They're competing with Google. They're competing head-to-head with Apple. Do they want access to this technology? And the answer is clearly yes, because we have tons of incoming interest. And for us, the idea is to facilitate that and make it available to them and to anybody else who wants to use it.
So I first want to point out that that was an awesome pitch. And whoever helped you with that must be an amazing and very smart person. That was an inside joke. They went through my Techstars program earlier this year.
My pitch coach, John Fine. So.
I didn't cheat, no cheating. Back to you guys, though. So, I think people get Echo and they get Siri and Google's latest product. It's something that they experience and they can touch. And I know you guys, obviously you have a hardware product that you're starting out with, and that was your Kickstarter. And you'll have a follow-up version to that. But how do you see this going forward? Open source is very different. So what do you want to be in comparison to those types of products?
Sure, so going forward, the concept for us is to provide a software developer kit and to provide an online API so that any developer in any industry that wants to deploy this technology in their product or in their service can come to our website, pull that down, integrate it with their service, have predictable pricing, have a predictable experience for their end users. In our case, they pay us a monthly fee for use of that SDK, and they can deploy our technology within their own infrastructure. And so a good example of a company that provides that type of service is Twilio, which recently had an IPO, and I think their current market cap's $4 billion. So, and in Twilio's case, anytime you get a confirmation text message from a bank or from anything else, that's coming through Twilio. They provide that as a service. In our case, voice as a service is really the future of the technology.
And as we know, open sources can be a double-edged sword, right? So the amazing opportunity of open source is that you don't have any of these restrictions of a closed proprietary system. The flip side to that is you're dependent on the community. Mm-hmm. And so being dependent on the community for product development, how are you planning on managing that going forward? how are you planning on putting a timeline around that? And sort of how do you think about that chronologically as you move forward and having your community contribute to your product?
Sure. So with a traditional open source product, like something that's out there in the world, a lot of times they're very wonky products. A technology called Hadoop is an example. It's a distributed database system that underpins big search engines, right? There's a very limited number of people that are interested in making contributions to Hadoop because, of course, it doesn't really interact with their day-to-day lives. You have to be super nerdy, like beyond nerdy, to find that interesting. In our case, we happen to hit a technology square on the head that the open source community and the technology community cares about deeply. Right? What geek out there who's developing software at their home doesn't want to have the Star Trek computer? Like who's watching Iron Man watches the movie and says, man, I don't want that at my house. Everybody wants Jarvis at their house, right? And so we've had, I would consider it to be a waterfall of interest in our technology. In fact, one of the reasons we're raising money is to hire additional staff to process the incoming software because it's coming in so fast that the small team that we have is having trouble integrating it into the stack. And so we've got an Android Wear application, I think 2 Android apps. There's at least 2 versions of the desktop technology.
People looking to one of your engineers in the back?
People are, huh?
Were you just looking to one of your engineers in the back?
Yeah, I'm looking at my CTO. Steve is nodding back there. He's like, please help me. I need more people. So we have all this incoming software, and for us, we kind of lucked into that position. Going forward in terms of managing that community, it really does come down to having a community approach and empowering that community to make decisions related to the technology, empowering that community to see their source code be successful. For those of you students out there who are interested in technology, one of the great places that you can go to get a good job, but also to get recognition globally, is an open source project. I'm going to tell a little story about a guy named Matthew Sheffield. So we were working a project, and one of our senior engineers came back and said, this particular component is going to take 3 months to develop. We don't have time to develop it. Like it needs to go into the sideline. And so we went to our community and we said, we'll give you a free Mycroft unit, so $200 worth of hardware, if you can solve this problem. And it came back solved the next day, right? And our senior engineer, that's the guy from Siri and Echo, like he's a really sharp guy. And so we called this person and we said, hey, like tell us about yourself. And he comes back, he says, I'm a junior, I'm really interested in computer science, and I'm interested in contributing to the community. And so we said, hey, you know, we run an internship program in the summer, and we do, like for all you students here, if you're interested, that's something you should come talk to us about. Why don't you come back and work with us between your junior and senior year, and then when you graduate from college here in another year, you can come work for us full time. And he says, I need to talk to my mom about that. I'm a junior in high school, right? And so he made substantial contributions to this platform. That's something that he put on his application when he applied to MIT, when he applied to Stanford, when he applied to Harvard, where he's making big contributions to a technology that's very, very important, as he was just pointing out, to the future of humankind and the future of how we interact with technology. That looks great on his resume. So, oh, and he did come to intern with us this summer, and he had a fantastic experience. We sent him home with a laptop and a big check. So for those of you who are interested in pursuing technology, contributing to open source projects is a great way to build a resume and to get into a high quality college. So.
All right, we're going to go ahead and open it up to questions here. We got one in the back, Josh, where my hand's in the air.
Sure.
Okay, you actually answered a couple of them already, so I'll reduce the number of questions down to about 40 or 50.
My pitch coach helped me.
Now, I'm assuming that it's comfortable with a 32-bit wide microprocessor like found in the Raspberry Pi, which I recently discovered you can't actually eat. Can you run it on a Mini, Arduino Mini? That's my first question. And obviously, you can embed it in a mobile device like the 2 most popular ones out there. You can embed it, I'm assuming, for a fee. Anyway, I have a couple of applications I'd like for you to be able to tell me in general terms if that's doable.
Sure. So the answer to the question, the first question is, can you run it on a specific type of microprocessor? Kind of a wonky question. Let me answer it in a broader terms. The concept for us is to be able to provide the technology on a continuum depending on the customer's need. And so there's an itty-bitty little microprocessor out there that all it has is a Wi-Fi chip and a little MIPS processor. It's called an 8266. They cost like $140. You can buy them at, if Radio Shack still exists, you can buy it there. And so in that scenario, if you wanted to run Mycroft, you'd actually have to have a physical push button, and everything would run in the cloud. On the flip side, we're currently working with Jaguar Land Rover up in Portland. And in that deployment, you'd have onboard GPUs. And so you'd have the ability to run the entire stack on the device without any internet connection at all. And the goal for us is to provide it to companies anywhere on that continuum so that it fits within their devices' constraints and constructs. In terms of it running in apps, they've already got people working on it in apps, and that's one of the, it's already running on Android mobile platform, and all the core technologies run on iOS. So that is one place that we're looking to provide services, not only within a specific app, in other words, you have to hit the app and then you have to talk to it, whatever, but also as a complete wrapper so that you can go to your phone and say Mycroft, or in our case, like we're the only one you can rename. So you could call it Samantha, you could call it Christopher, you could call it whatever you want. You can get custom voices, things that aren't available from Siri and Cortana and Google, and have it enter the specific app. So you just pick up your phone and say, Mycroft, I just ate a cheeseburger, and it launches your exercise app and adds the calories to your count. That's the type of technology that we're looking to facilitate.
Question up front here, Josh.
First of all, so Air Force officer up there.
Yeah, I'm a reserve officer with the Air Force. I specialize in cyber warfare.
Thank you for your service.
Well, thank you.
First of all. And so I don't really have a question, but just for a guy who, my DVD player confuses me. I don't know technology at all. Your presentation, the flow, just the graphics, everything up there was awesome. And you're able to take something, artificial intelligence, which to me I feel smart just being able to say that. You're able to simplify it down to where now I can walk away and I can tell somebody about Mycroft and how cool this presentation was. And I think that that's going to be a huge value for you guys, being able to take something so sophisticated, something that I hope to learn more about someday. But now that I feel like I can understand it and I know who you guys are, and so applaud you guys and thank you for coming today.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, that's right. Clap. All right, toss the hands in the air. I'll come to you. One in the back.
I just want to thank you for your honesty and integrity and helping the small independent businessman on Main Street, because this is the methodology that I'm using in my business, which is redox biochemistry, and it's so profound. It's a breakthrough of humble proportion like yours. So thank you for what you've done and what you're doing.
Perfect.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we got to tear them apart a little bit.
Question
here.
up
Somebody
here
got something
in the
negative?
front.
All right, there we go.
Great presentation. I would also have liked to have seen a demo. But my question is more about the marketing. I'm familiar with Raspberry because I work in the tech field as well, but I also am very familiar with the marketing aspects. My question is, with Amazon out there, buy 4 Echoes, get your 5th one for free, really trying to saturate the market, are you going to target more to the developers to be included in other products, or are you actually going to go after a consumer type market? Can you address your marketing plans a little bit?
Sure. So one of the things that when you build an open source product, one of the problems you have to solve is you really have a two-sided market. Okay? You can't get the customers until the technology is built, and you can't build the technology until you have a developer community to develop the underlying tech. And so, when we got started, really the focus was on bringing developers in, and that's really still our focus, is making sure that developers are aware that it exists even, and that they have access to it, and that they can contribute to the platform. And really, for the next 12 months, that's where our focus will be. Going forward, we're looking at device makers who want to integrate the technology to be able to deploy it in the field, in their speakers, in their automobiles, in their products, independently of us. We'll definitely have an app available in the App Store, and there's going to be there's a sizable number of people out there who care about things like privacy and user agency. And if you care about privacy and user agency, Mycroft is a much better solution because we are transparent about that than, for instance, Siri or Google Assistant, where you have no idea where all your personal data is going or what it's being used for. And so in terms of marketing, we start with developers, and then we move on to other people's IoT devices and out into the field. Does that hopefully answer your question? And so as a result, like this presentation and where we are today is very technical and focused on guys who cut code. But going forward, the idea is to have a user experience that is equivalent to talking to a person. Like that's the user experience that we have. Even the user experience with Siri and Cortana and Google Assistant today is really stilted and unnatural. And so we want to provide a user experience that is second to none, and we're the only company focusing on that. Apple wants to sell you products, right? Amazon wants you to buy paper towels through their platform. Google wants you to use their search engine. None of those companies are focused on, we want you to have the best user experience with our voice agent. That's what we do. And then finally, like the elephant in the room is Amazon pushing out their product. I used to try and explain what we did, and I'd be like, there's a speaker, and like you talk to it, and it does stuff, and nobody got that. And then Alec Baldwin and Amazon did a Super Bowl commercial, and all of a sudden, everybody in the whole world, understood what we do as a technology. One of the key predictors for an independent coffee shop is your proximity to a Starbucks. The closer your independent gourmet coffee shop is to a Starbucks, the more business you do, because by having a Starbucks in the community, they increase the size of the overall market. And so there are actually independent coffee shops out there that deliberately locate right next door to a Starbucks because it drives their bottom line. So Amazon building this great market and building awareness and creating this brand new market for this brand new device category has been fantastic for us because we are the open alternative. And if you look at history, the iPhone was the first, right? The open alternative's Android. Android's got 68% of the market. Right? If you look at the server market, Windows Server was first. It had almost 100% of the market. Then came Linux and Ubuntu. Now Linux and Ubuntu, I think it's 61% of the server market is Linux. And so there's a real significant potential upside to being the alternative to the proprietary market leader.
Question in the back to your left.
Hey Josh, good presentation. This is a Raspberry Pi, so can anybody get in and work on it?
Anybody can pull it down from our website at Mycroft AI and work on it. We have a Slack channel where all of our team members are and interact with each other and with the community basically all day long and all night long. Our community spans the entire globe. We've got developers on staff in, Jonathan's here, he's from Toronto. We have developers in Brazil. We have developers here in Kansas City. I'm currently out in San Francisco raising money. And then our developer community, the broader community, is from everywhere from Slovenia to China. And anyone out there can pull that technology down and use it.
Wow, you've done an amazing job, and it's open source. So what's your IP?
So the back-end components of our technology are proprietary. And so a developer can pull it down, put it on their own Raspberry Pi, but in order to access weather data, they're going to have to go negotiate with Open Weather Maps. In order to go and get onto Twitter and Facebook, they need to go get API keys. If they want an if this then that channel, they're going to have to pay if $10,000. The list goes on and on and on as we add more APIs to it. So an independent user absolutely can use our technology completely independent of us if they want to go negotiate all those keys and set it up. Alternatively, you can say auth with Facebook and use our backend. That's free for users to use. We do offer some premium voices, and we offer ad-free media streams as part of that experience, and we're getting right about 6% of our users to take us up on those paid premium features. And that allows us to both respect the open source ethos and allow people to use it in an open and free way to control their data, to act as their agent, but also to get paid at the consumer level.
Josh, thank you so much for your presentation today. Our final question, what can we as a community do to help you?
All right, so I've been giving a lot of thought to this, and I had a conversation with my CTO yesterday, Steve. There really isn't anything that Kansas City can do for us today that they already haven't done. The people in this room, in the entrepreneurial community, and you kids, you need to think about this as you plan your careers and as you plan where you're going to live growing up, have been fantastic supporters of the local entrepreneurial ecosystem. They've provided us with access to the Techstars program, which helped us to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're currently in free office space provided by Lead Bank. In September, the local EDC folks wrote us a $50,000 grant through Late Launch KC that's enabled us to move into the Kansas City community. It has been a fantastic experience. And so my request actually is for the person that follows on. In the military, we have a concept that if you go and join your brothers in Valhalla, you're supposed to leave the field of battle in better shape for the man behind you, right? So take one with you. So I want to talk a little bit about what we as a community can do for future entrepreneurs who are entering the Kansas City ecosystem. And I got to thinking about it and decided I'm going to call it Initiative 6. Init 6 in Linux reboots the machine. It's geeky. And so, you know, and I was hoping to have more people in the room that were a little further in their careers than you folks in high school. But, you know, if I look at my investment portfolio from my IRA and my retirement account, I invest in a lot of companies, right? I invest in the S&P 500, I invest in the Dow. That is a very broad investment. And if I look at those companies and see which ones are in my local community, there aren't really very many of them. Cerner and Hallmark and Sprint are really the big ones in our community. And when I look at my public investment portfolio and I say, how many Midwestern companies do I currently invest in that are in early stage? The answer is 0. And I think that if you look around the room and you think about your own investment portfolio, your own IRA, your own 401k, you'll see that the companies that you invest in, they're in Silicon Valley and they're in New York. So I was recently reading a blog post from a local entrepreneur who was lamenting the fact that Silicon Valley won't invest in the Midwest. And there's a really simple answer to that question, or why that is. They invest locally. They invest in Silicon Valley. And so as a result, even though our engineering operations are here in Kansas City, I'm full-time in Silicon Valley out raising money to make this project successful. And so Initiative 6 is a challenge to the investment community in our Kansas City community. It's a challenge to all of the individual workers out there that have an IRA and a 401k. And it's a challenge to the legal community here in Kansas City. What I would like to see is I would like to see the legal community figure out a way to make this work, right? I'd like to see the investment community stand up some IRA accounts, some IRA mechanisms that allow normal everyday workers to invest a percentage of their IRA in some kind of C Corp that invests in local venture funds. And I'd like to see more than just your venture fund. I'd like to see 5 or 10 more in the local community. And what that would do is it would allow you to say, hey, I want to take 5 or 10% of my IRA and I'm going to invest it in this company that then in turn becomes a limited partner in a bunch of local venture funds. And so you can diversify your investment. You're no longer just invested in the big blue chip companies in New York and Silicon Valley. Now a small percentage of your investment is being invested locally. It'd be a very simple mechanism. A lot of the people that I think would want to invest in my project can't. They're not accredited. Right? They don't have more than $1 million in assets. They don't make more than $200,000 a year. But if they could take a percentage of their IRA, invest it in a local company that in turn invests in local venture funds, we could reinvest in our community and invest in local startups. And so I would love to see somebody in the audience say, hey, that's a fantastic idea. And I'd like to point out that, you know, people who run investments like this, they take a percentage of the funds under management and they take a percentage of the carry. So it could be very lucrative for somebody who set something like this up, provided it got traction. I'd love to see somebody in the room stand up and say, hey, this is a great idea. Let's go make this happen. So that's my challenge to you as Initiative 6, is let's figure out a way to allow people to invest a percentage of their IRA in local startups.
That's something we can get behind. Please clap. Awesome. Well, thank you to both of our presenters today, and thank you all for joining us. Let's keep Global Entrepreneurship Week going. If you want a GEWKC calendar, go see Sarah over here. She has a whole bunch of them. There are more events in this space today, so go across the hall for Guild It to hear from Bruce Brannett and Heidi Van, or stay right where you are for Startup to Success to hear from a panel of local entrepreneurs, including Matt Condon, We've Got You Covered, Pop Bookings, Pay It, The Wellington Group, and Feudum. There's a lot going on, guys. And also, one last thing, or actually 2 more, log into the app, provide feedback to these companies, and don't come to 1 Million Cups next week. Instead, enjoy your Thanksgiving. Thank you, guys. Have a great Wednesday.